Welcome to Gaia's Love, a podcast of brief messages to help humanity bridge the gap to the new earth. My name is Vivienne Gerard. It is my delight to be a scribe for consciousness today, sharing the wisdom that flows through from Source. Here we go. Episode 52. It is Friday. Here in Cincinnati, the sun is shining, the skies are blue, it is gorgeous. It is the Friday of a long holiday weekend, so I am taking 3 days off to play, which means there's no podcast until Tuesday. And it just feels spacious and fun. My daughter is coming home. I'm going up to pick her up at campus later this afternoon, and everything feels very joyous and relaxed. So I am sending you that energy as you listen to this podcast. So today I skipped my yoga, because it was going to be a shorter morning to get work done. And when I was doing my meditation before this, I had the song in mind that I was listening to, and the words kept coming forward, and I was like, okay, we'll do that song and look at the lyrics. And then it felt like, no, go bigger, like expand the perspective. And what I immediately saw was the hashtag music is life. So that's what we're going to explore today. Music is life. It's one of my favorite hashtags because it just sums it all up. Another one I would probably add is everything is sound. The speed of sound is another good one. Like, these are names of songs, but music is life just captures all of it. And when I was meditating, I was rambling in my mind through, how your mind works through stuff in meditation. And the more you sit, the more you just observe how your mind just like passes thoughts through. And then another one, and suddenly you're in like 5 other galaxies worth of content. Maybe your meditations aren't quite that delightfully entertaining, but mine are. So this morning I was seeing all of these different songs from like the story of my life moving through my mind, and it's not just one song. So just for fun, because it's a Friday and why not, and it's a holiday weekend and we're just going to be playful, I thought I would share some of the soundtrack of my story of my life, just randomly as they come up as I sit here in this space with you. And then the fun invitation is play with music this weekend. Turn on music you haven't listened to in a while, and just feel the flood of memories that comes through when you tap into that one song that represented this one time in your life, or that one relationship, or that one perfect day, or that one terrible day, or just all the moments. It's so magical how music and sound captures the vibration of a moment, and then it's just anchored in us, and we don't even have to hear that song for years, and when it plays we know every word. It's like in us, in our memories. So that's what I thought I would do, is just kind of ramble as it comes forward about some of the music that has been the soundtrack of my life. So I grew up with a dad who loves all kinds of music, and a mom who is probably what I would call more instrumental classical music. But my dad, he went for whatever. So when we were growing up, we had a station wagon with the little cassettes. I guess maybe it was an 8-track before then. I don't know. I just remember cassettes. And I would hate when the cassette tape would get all tangled and you'd lose the tape. Oh, like that was tragic. But I remember every time we did big rides, family vacations, we would have these tapes, and it'd be a big fight over what tape was going to go in next and who got to decide. But I remember listening to ABBA, like when ABBA was ABBA, like the new group, not ABBA now, like we're going back into the 80s or 70s or 60s. I guess they were 70s. Yeah, it's like ABBA was new when I listened to them as a child. And there was a woman my dad loved who we saw at a really beautiful hotel in South Africa called Sun City, or he saw her maybe, but her name's Helen Reddy. I remember her song, I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar. I mean, just belting that song out. Loved that song. We listened to Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton. Um, Richard Clayderman was one of my mom's favorites. I remember just listening to his music. Hooked on Classics, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if you guys have ever listened to Hooked on Classics, but it's so much fun. Like these, I don't even know if you can get them anymore. It's this old instrumental, like a symphony would just play like one song to another, to another, to another, and most of them, if I remember right, were like songs you would know the words to, but they would just do the instrumental. Oh, I remember that. That was so fun. But we had this constant mix of all these different artists that my dad would bring forward. And then when we moved over to South Africa, or from South Africa to the States, I remember starting to tune into radio stations more often. And also I was becoming a teenager, and you know, your music is influenced by your peers much more than your parents usually at that age. And I remember like, oh, all the classics, you know, the 80s music, all the 80s music. Loved the 80s music. My daughter sometimes plays 80s songs, my son too, and we just sing so loud and laugh at the songs because everyone knows the words, even though they weren't alive in the 80s, they know the words. Free Falling. I love Free Falling. I remember we did a contest in high school and we had to write on gum wrappers. Oh, what was that? It was so funny, but we won the concert with Richard Marx. Richard Marx. Oh my God. Oh, for my 80s friends, you're gonna laugh. He played a concert at our school. Like, we were so awesome. we wrote, what did we have to write? We wrote on a little piece of paper. I didn't remember what it was. I mean, I just remember writing and writing and writing, all of us. And then somehow we got enough of those pieces of paper that we got the concert. Oh, so hysterical. Summer songs. I remember lots of summer music, and those were fun, playful music years, even though high school is so intense. Yeah, that all kind of blurs together. I remember Depeche Mode, going to see a Depeche Mode concert. My first concerts, oh God. We have this place in Cincinnati, an amusement park, and they had a Timberwolf was the name of the theater, this tiny little theater, and it was like such a big deal to go to the amusement park and then see a concert at the end. And sometimes the Reds games, there would be a concert at the end, but the really cool place to go was Riverbend, which is so funny how life is full circle. That's where my husband works in the summertime. And so he's always at concerts, working concerts, and he sees all these stars and famous musicians. It's just a funny irony. Okay, so let's see. That was 80s. Oh, then my freshman year at college. Oh my gosh, I remember Erasure, if I'm saying that right. Still Depeche Mode, but Erasure. Sometimes their music comes on, and I'm instantly back in the dorm room jamming with my friend Jen. And then my friend Steven, we used to listen to that. Oh my gosh, so funny. So funny. Yeah, what was after that? The next one that comes to mind is, now it feels like moments, you know how specific moments are anchored in. I remember being at my wedding to my husband, Oscar, at the time. We were like having this beautiful ceremony at a Catholic church, and one of my mom's friends was an opera singer, and she sang Ave Maria. Oh, like from the back of the church, you know, we're standing in this moment, and her voice is just echoing through the church with Ave Maria. It was absolutely beautiful. Like, the sounds were transformative. It was just an incredible memory. Like, my cells remember. My cells in my body remember the sound of that music going through the church. Yeah, I've shared the one from my daughter's early years from Tarzan. I've shared that in other podcasts. The song "You'll Be in My Heart." Love that. Like, that instantly comes to mind. When my children were little, the soundtrack changed to like all the kids' songs. So there was this woman, Lori Bertner, Lori something, and she sang these sweet little songs that were little ditties, and you would just sing along with her. And the kids and I, oh my gosh, we had the best time singing some of those songs. There was one about moon, the moon up in the sky. Oh my God, my kids and I still laugh when we sing that. All of those lyrics, those soundtracks, like the moment you hear the first word, you remember all of them. There was one called Rhubarb Pie. Just the cutest songs. And of course, Barney and the Wiggles. Oh, that's hysterical. And then I remember when I was going through the separation and divorce, the soundtrack, there was an album, Fireflies, by Faith Hill. Oh, I just cried and cried to that song, to the songs on that. I remember Callie and I talk about this, my daughter and I remember being in the car with her before my son Ryan was born. She and I went to see a friend after 9/11 in New York, and we listened, it was 6 months later, and we listened to John Mayer's album and U2, like the whole way there, the whole way back, just grieving to those soundtracks. Yeah, and then country came in. When I met my husband Brad, country came in, and I started listening to way more country. And Tim McGraw, oh my gosh, Live Like You're Dying. And there's so many songs he and his wife sang, like just fun, like it just became, the soundtracks became more fun. I remember at our wedding, we got married in our front yard, and the song that we played was first I remember during the ceremony, we listened, let me rephrase that. My sister-in-law and my nieces sang 1,000 Years, one of the soundtracks from the Twilight series, to us as we were exchanging vows. It was such a beautiful, sacred moment. The words and their voices, and everyone being outside with, the air and the trees and the grass and nature. It was beautiful. Beautiful. And then my daughter-in-law and son-in-law sang and played I Don't Dance, which was the song. I'm like back in the moment trying to get the words for it. I Don't Dance, which is the song that we did our first dance to, and how magical that was. Like, just such fun. And then the next one that comes to mind is the Asatoma prayer. At the solar eclipse a year ago, we were at my friend Sarah's farm, and she was playing this music on Spotify, and I just remember hearing this voice, Alicia's voice, floating up through to the loft of the farmhouse where I was sort of falling asleep, and hearing her voice with the sacred chant just moving through the whole space. Like, it brought me to tears, and I couldn't stop listening to that song. And I listen to that song very often. I play it every week. Oh my gosh, the Ong Namo. Hello, the Ong Namo chant by Snodam Kaur, like one of my absolute favorites of all songs. It's interesting too, I've moved to a lot more instrumental. My friend Brendan introduced me to the Echelon Effect and Caspian, two of my favorite instrumental groups now, and just how beautiful the sounds are that they create. And it takes you, the Echelon Effect, they record their music by the oceans, and so they bring in all these sounds of nature into the instrumentals, and it's just like, it's like you're standing at the edge of the ocean with them. It's absolutely incredible. So incredible. So I love all of that. And then classic Van Morrison. Brendan reminded me how awesome Van Morrison is. I mean, it's just fun, right? When you start tuning into all the songs that have guided your journey. For me, when I tune into all the songs that have guided my journey, the variety of the music, the power of the different voices and the lyrics that they use to express their stories, it's just such a gift to have music and to be able to hear, to be able to sing along, to be able to visualize the sounds moving through the environment around you, and to see music. One of my favorite movies, I think I shared this, that my mom introduced me to was, what's it called now? I'm blanking on the name. It was about the boy who is, I can't believe I'm blanking on it. The boy who is orphaned, and then he starts playing with music, and there's that image where he's standing in the field and he's composing music by moving the branches and the wheat and the grass and everything in front of him, and it's just so... August Rush is the movie. I feel that way with sounds and music in general. Like sounds, the vibration come into every cell of our bodies, through our skin, our ears, our nose, our mouth. Like we soak in all of these sounds, and they change the texture, the feeling, the quality, the structure of our cells, and make us new or different. So what we're feeding in as music is shaping, who we are and how we act and how we think and how we feel and how we express and what we create. So I just feel blessed in this moment, so blessed to have had all of these amazing gifts of sound in my journey. So yeah, the soundtrack of my life, the song that I was singing the lyrics to today, Van Morrison, Into the Mystic. Just love that. Love that. Yeah, so I invite you to play with music this weekend. Pull out some old tracks and explore some new ones you haven't tried before, and just delight in the gift of sound and music. Music is life, always. Have a beautiful weekend. Thank you for tuning in to today's vibration. Let's take this message of pure love out into all of our communities and continue expanding love here on Gaia. So much love from my heart to yours.